God is saying in this hour, he's going to be exposing a lot of corrupt people in positions of power and ultimately setting a lot of people free for his glory. Because God hears our prayers. He hears our cries, even when we think that he don't. And that a lot of respected businesses have fallen prey to the agenda due to bribe, economic bribe, financial, or just turning a side eye, to the evil that's being done, or basically just accepting hush money of what's going on right under their nose. So today the Lord is leading me to come up here to talk about sex trafficking, aka human trafficking. And the Lord is getting ready to do a breakthrough. And he's been downloading this word into me for a couple months, probably since summer, but he finally gave me dreams on it. And he's getting ready to do a breakthrough and set the captives free and free his people that are suffering the hands of their oppressors and bondage. Okay, so he gave me these two dreams back in, I have it right here in my journal. He gave me those two dreams separately back in the 14th of September and the 17th of October of this year. And he didn't release me to talk about them yet until now. The dream was very vivid. It felt so real. It didn't even feel like a dream. It was so scary. I was freaking out in the dream. I was freaking out. I thought I was going to die, okay? But the dream starts off with me at a gas station, and these two guys pull up in front of the convenience store. As I'm making my way out of the gas station, it felt like I was set up, to be honest with you, because as I'm making my way out of I was dressed in a hoodie. I had my, normal people clothes on, I think I had some regular sweats and a hoodie or something. I don't know, but I was coming out the gas station and all I see is an SUV and a truck, truck driver truck. Is it truck driver truck? The trucks that have the space in the back, I don't know, the Rams, the Jeep Rams or whatever. And I'm making my way out of this gas station and I see these two guys come outside the car. They're kind of trying to block, that they're trying to block the convenience store. So I see that and the first thought that comes into my mind in the dream is run. You already know what type of time we're on. I already knew it. Oh my gosh, these people are going to try to kidnap me. I start to run. I literally start to run. I took to the streets, and in the dream it looked like I was in the city. Not that I'm saying, human trafficking can't happen in rural places. It happens anywhere. It happens all over the world. It's a billion-dollar industry. So it happens everywhere. But for the purposes of this dream, that's where I was. I was in the city, and I took to the streets. There was traffic. It was traffic going on. Cars was driving. I literally jumped in the middle of the street. I jumped in the. It's not funny, but it's I nervous laugh. I jump in the middle of the street, and that's the only way I could buy myself time to run. Because the car stopped immediately as soon as I jumped in the middle of the street, and they were honking. They were bam, 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 what are you doing? Get off the road. And I was just frantically running for my life. I know that as soon as I started running, they hopped in their cars and they tried to chase after me with their cars. It looked like we were in New York. Mind you, I've never been to New York before, but there was a lot of tall buildings. There was a lot of how New York looks like in movies. I was so freaking scared. All I could think about is getting somewhere safe. I run into the middle of the street, risked my life. Nobody hit me, thank God. It switches to another scene where I'm still running away from it. It's some time, I don't know if I lost them, but I began to camouflage myself, and I think I probably took some clothes. I seen in the next scene, these two women that I saw that were pushing a baby stroller. They were pushing a baby stroller, and then I ended up doing the same thing that they were doing. And they had something like this on their head, like that. And it was like, it was wrapped around like this, and then they had on glasses. So I tried to become anonymous like them. My baby was fake. The baby I had in my stroller was a fake baby, because, like, you know, I don't know if I had a real baby, but I know they were pushing real, like, baby strollers, and I was just copying them because I'm not trying to get kidnapped in the dream. After some time of me walking down, you know, pretending to be one of them, I guess at some point they catch on to the disguise, and they start to chase after me again. So as they're starting to chase after me, I literally bolt into one of the buildings, and I was frantically, like, knocking on the doors. Like, I was frantically, each door, I was just going to another door. I was frantically knocking on the door. I was like, please, somebody help me. Somebody help me. Like, somebody let me in. Please, somebody let me in. Like, please help me. I'm begging you. And then what made it really weird is that a lot of people were not opening their doors. So eventually somebody, this old lady, like, she looks like this old lady, she opens the door and she's like, oh my gosh, honey, come in, are you okay? And I was like, no, like, these men are after me, they're trying to kidnap me. I don't know why they're chasing out. Well, I know why. Then I pull out a flash drive in the dream, and I'm like, they're chasing after me because of this. They're chasing after me because of this flash drive. And she was like, oh my gosh, what's on the flash drive? I was like, I don't know. Like, do you have a computer? Do you have a laptop? Do you have something that I can, you know, connect it to see what's on the flash drive? And this is all a dream. I'm telling you, this is all a dream. He gave me this dream back in the 14th of September this year. And as you know, I'm connecting. She's like, yeah, I have a laptop. Then we go to the laptop area, and I'm connecting the flash drive into the computer. The men that were chasing after me to kidnap me, they begin knocking on the lady's door. And they were like, we know she's in here, let us in, da 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 da. I was like, please, please, please don't let them take me. Like, please don't let them take me. Please don't let them know I'm here. They're after this. I cannot let them have this. If they have this, da da da. I don't know what I said along the lines, but, like, they're after this. They want to kill me because of this. And then she was like, okay, like, I'm gonna see what I could do. I could probably hide it and, like, try to, you know. And she was like, you know, she was trying to help me find places to hide in her house. And I tried to hide under her bed and everything. But eventually, like, she ended up opening her door, and she was trying to, like, you know, make it seem like I'm not here. Like, she was like, hello, how can I help you guys? Like, I don't know what are you guys talking about? Like, I don't know. And that was the first dream. And then I woke up. My heart was beating. I was sweating. I was like, yo, that did not feel like a dream. That did not feel like a dream. But yeah, that's the first dream that the Holy Spirit gave me concerning the matters of human trafficking, aka trafficking. The second dream that he gave me was in October 17, and I wrote it down in my notes. This one's a little bit more dark because this one is about kids, you know. And quick side note, the Spirit of the Lord also led me to create this collage. If you see the pictures of the two boys up in the middle, they're holding a teddy bear that's in bondage. That's a Balenciaga campaign that recently went viral. The Holy Spirit told me to add that to the collage. And the model that's holding the two fake babies are also a Balenciaga campaign from a fashion show runway. And the suits as well on the upper left hand corner are also from the Balenciaga campaign as well. He also wanted me to add a Disney show that was going to be aired on Disney called Little Demon. And then at the bottom of Little Demon, you see the kids holding up a sign from the Santa Claus series in Disney Plus that says, "We love you, Satan." And in the upper left-hand corner, you see a guy wearing a mask. That's from a movie. It's from a movie that came out last year called Black Phone, and it's about child kidnapping and murdering. And all this is going to tie into the dream that I'm about to share with you next, on how they're also not just targeting women, but especially children. Side note, the Holy Spirit gave me a quick vision on the second dream. As soon as I woke up from the second dream, I forgot to add that in there, but this is some of the things that he had to share with me once I took it to him, the visions and the dreams, and I sat down with him. He ministered these things to me. So I'm just going to read the dream out loud. The dream felt like we were near water, because when they pulled up with their black Corvette, they had on bikinis, and like the beach was nearby. The black Corvette pulled up right in front of us where we were sitting. They were wearing a black sheer top, and they had colorful shorts, and their shorts were covering their bikinis. Their bikinis were colorful. It was just like one of those cover-ups that you put on to like cover yourself while you're in a bikini. I was wearing these like bubble shoes, like these bubble slides. They were like, "Oh, I like your shoes," and I was like, "Thank you." Like, I smiled. I was like, "Thank you." But as the three ladies began to get out the car, there was three kids in the back of the car, and they looked like as if they were 4 or 5 even, and one of them looked a little older. I'd say like 8 years old. The two of the younger ones, they were a little bit more smaller, so they couldn't get out the car. Like, I don't know, I think they had the safety lock on in the back so that they couldn't open the door from the inside. So the two younger ones, they couldn't get out the car. So the ladies, as they're stepping outside the car to go into the convenience store, to go into the store mart, they're like, "I'm sorry, can you guys help us pull them out of the car? Like, could you guys help us?" So me and my grandma, we got up and we're like, "Sure," like, "Okay." And we were like, sure, no, it's no problem. We basically had to pull these kids out of this, like, it was very deep seated. Like, I don't know how deep these seats were, but they were so small, like we had to practically drag them out of the car. But yeah, so we helped the two younger ones out of the car. The 8-year-old was tall enough to just like hop over the top down Corvette. The three women that were there asked us to help them. The 8-year-old hopped out the car, and we're walking on the sidewalk. And as we're walking the sidewalk to go inside the convenience store, the mart, the 8-year-old, she's bustling around, and she trips. Like, she purposely trips. In the dream, it looked like it was done on purpose. And she falls like on her face, and then she turns around, sitting on the floor. She looks up at us on the floor, and her face is bleeding, like her cheek. And she looked at us, and she was like, "I'm sorry, are you gonna help me? Like, are you gonna help me get up?" Oh my gosh. We looked at each other, we were like, "Of course, like, sure, like, are you okay?" Like, because it was really weird. Like, she just dropped face forward, and then she turned around and was just looking at us. But by the time we picked her up off the floor, the three women that drove, that were in the car, they were already like a couple steps ahead of us going into the store, and we were kind of like helping this 8-year-old off the floor or so that we can go in the store. The other two kids that were there, they were very quiet. They didn't really talk much in the dream. They didn't really say much. You could tell like they were very uncomfortable. But the 8-year-old was kind of like, I guess you could say, was doing certain things for attention, like was bustling around, was, anxious. You could tell that she was a little anxious, and she was trying to get our attention the whole time while we were there. We go into the store, we follow the three ladies, me, my sister, and my grandma. We follow the three African-American ladies, and the kids, we go into the store with them because we already had to go into the store anyway. As we're in the store, we could tell that these kids were not their kids, because something was off. The kids were looking around them as if people could tell that they were kidnapped. Like, like in the dream, one of the ladies, she was talking to like either the 4-year-old or the 3-year-old. She was talking in the 3-year-old's ear in an aisle, and the 3-year-old or the 4-year-old or whatever was just like, "This is the lady in her ear," and she's just looking around like, and she just looks so scared. When you're the mother of a kid, automatically that kid feels safe around you, and lets their guard down, and you know, they just feel safe. You could tell that those kids felt very uncomfortable. They were very like detached from the 3 Black women that brought them into the store with them. Oh my God, this is such a long dream. So they were looking around like, does anybody notice that this lady is not my mom? Does anybody notice that I am kidnapped? Like, these people took us from the beach. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know them. I can't say that because I don't want to get hurt, but hello, does anyone see me, you know? And I saw it, and so did my grandma in the dream. Their mannerism was very standoffish. It was very uncomfortable. Immediately after seeing that, something told me in the dream, go call the cops. I noticed something was off immediately, and so did my grandma in the dream. And the first thought that popped into my head is, no, I need to go call the cops. And we were in a public store, and I was looking for a telephone booth inside of a public store. I don't know, the dream was weird. So I ended up finding a room that had a telephone booth. It kind of looked like it was a break room, but it had a telephone booth in there. My sister was already in that room. She was on her phone. She was sitting down. She was chilling. I don't know. But I went in there, and I was like, I'm about to call the cops, because those women are not those kids' parents. They're not the guardians. They're not even the aunties. Yeah, so I go into the booth. I close the door. My grandma, like I said, she caught on too, and she began to distract the women and was talking to the women and was like, oh my gosh, I really like your hair. Where'd you get that from? Da, 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 da. And they were distracted, all right. So as my grandma was distracting the women that were handling the girl, I went in there, and I was so nervous. Like, I was so nervous. I was trying so hard to dial 911, but I kept hitting the wrong numbers. I dialed 225. And then I was like, no. Why am I dialing 225? Delete. 091. And then I was like, no, that's not the correct one. And I put, as I'm about to put 911, the correct number, I woke up from the dream. So he broke it down to me, and he explained to me, like, you know, what it meant is that, you know, like, they're targeting kids, and they're using like mother figures, or like a handler that seems non-threatening, like a woman that seems non-threatened, but that woman really is working for those people, or is in cahoots, or is part of whatever, or is the pimp herself. Because women often give off the non-threatening vibe more than a random man would. And then when I talked to him, and I was like, okay, God, like, I sat down with him with this dream. I was like, God, you gonna give me the interpretations or what? Because what are you trying to say? And he was like, okay, well, you know. And I asked him, I was like, why was I dialing all these numbers, these weird numbers? And I tried to look up the definition of those numbers, because numbers have meanings too in your dreams. I tried to look up, you know, Bible scriptures with those numbers, Hebrews, Strong's Concordance, the meaning of that number, or, you know, prophetic numbers. I tried to look up, what does this mean? What does this mean? And he was like, it's not none of that. What it means is, pay attention to your surroundings. And when you're traveling to another city or another state, and you notice something is weird, know what number to dial. Because not every state that you travel to, their emergency number is going to be 911. Not every state that you travel to, their emergency number is going to be the same, you know? Like, for us here, it's 911, but if we're in another state, if we're traveling, let's say we're in Greece, or we're in Mexico, or we're in Paris, or wherever, their emergency number might be 025 or 019 or 091, you know? And he was just pointing out to me, that's why you kept putting different numbers, because those different numbers represent like different emergency call lines. And yeah, he gave me scriptures to back up this dream as well. And then I'm going to share the prophetic download, the prophetic download that he spoke to me about human trafficking, aka trafficking. Okay, So let us go to Mark 9, verse 42. It says, if anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, would be better for them if a large millstone were hung around their neck and they were thrown into the sea. And another verse he gave me for the first dream that I had is Psalm 7, 15 through 16, KJV version. And it says, he made a pit and dig it and has fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down to his own plate. That's the verses that he gave me for those two dreams. And then he gave me a prophetic download while I was spending time with him concerning those dreams. God is saying in this hour, he's going to be exposing a lot of corrupt people in positions of power and ultimately setting a lot of people free for his glory. Because God hears our prayers. He hears our cries, even when we think that he don't. And that a lot of respected businesses have fallen prey to the agenda due to bribe, economic bribe, financial, or just turning a side eye, to the evil that's being done, or basically just accepting hush money of what's going on right under their nose. It was telling me also that a lot of businesses, a lot of legal businesses are just cover-ups for dark market businesses. And he also said a lot more people are about to start getting exposed. Politicians, celebrities, people that you would least expect. Corrupt governments. We're not going to talk about that. There's a lot of governments that are so corrupt. God is going to start exposing these people. Corrupt cops that are on the payroll to hush money. People that are celebrities. He kept highlighting celebrities because a lot of celebrities are in this, chain. And a lot of them are going to get exposed. And he wanted me to add one more thing. A lot of people, this is a very scary word because not everybody wants to get their nails dirty, and not everybody wants to do the work. Not everybody wants to talk about these things. Not everybody wants to open their doors and save a rescue or something like that. But it's up to us as Christians. As Christians, we're believers, but we are warrior for Christ first. We are warriors. Come on, Holy Spirit, speak to me. Many people want to talk about change and what can be done and what should be done and who should be doing this and who should be doing that and why this isn't happening, why this needs to happen, and all of this talk. But what can you do as a believer? What can we do for the sake of humanity? What can we do? We have to first, in order for there to even be a change, we must first become the change. We have to become the change in order to see change. Because there's always something that can be done. It doesn't matter how small it is. There's always an impact that can be made. Just like Prophetess Harriet Tubman. If we really put our trust in the Lord and we let the Spirit of the Lord pour out into us, because he did say, in the last days, I will pour out my Spirit on all flesh. If we really trust in the Lord, he will lift up his mighty hand and he will show us the way. He will lead us the same way he led Harriet Tubman to help free those slaves on the Underground Railroad. So nothing is impossible with Christ. And I do believe he's going to be putting a lot of people in power, a lot of people in positions of power, and to help his agenda and not Satan and the demonic kingdom's agenda. I want to be able to bring my kids into this world and know that this world is a better place because we made a difference. I made a difference. I made an impact. We worked together. Us believers, we fought the good fight here on earth. Even if it meant us risking our lives. So, yeah, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will be back with another video.